What is up, winning team? This is going to be a juicy one because I want to share with you guys my actual thoughts about science versus God. Because when I did my science versus God video, which in my humble opinion is still the best video I ever done, I just want to point that out there, and one of the best videos on all of YouTube. I stand behind that belief, by the way. Anyways, I never really gave my opinion because I was like, well, I'm trying to speak about the facts and the logic and the things that have been said and done, but I didn't really give my opinion. Do you know what I'm saying? I kind of was just fighting them against each other. So anyway, I decided let's do this today because it's actually going to be interesting potentially, also because of what I was just thinking just now, because just now I was having this thought that to me, the thing about science, which is crazy, is that I don't understand, and this is the thing, I learned from science that God is real. Like, that's the point. Like, when I was at uni, I remember I would literally be inside my lectures, guys. I would be listening to the science and I would literally be falling in love with the Lord. I'm like, God, you are amazing. Like, and I just could see that to me, logically, if we were to look at the evidence, there is more scientific evidence that God exists than that he doesn't. And that's the thing, guys. That's the thing that you won't know unless you're in science, because the scientists are also obsessed with proving that God doesn't exist. And that's what I realized. And so for me, when people separate the two things, I find it interesting because, like, when I read the Bible through from cover to cover, I felt like I read it in one way, but now these days it literally all sounds like science. And that's actually the thing I enjoy about life the most, I realized, is like looking for the science in the Bible, because it's so interesting, because they're supposed to be like these two things that don't exist together, right? They're supposed to be these two things that don't exist. There are foes, but in fact, one is just the fact for the other one, which is that the science proves that God exists. Like, even if you were not to say that we know definitively just yet, in terms of quantitative, fine. However, all the evidence, like all the evidence is overwhelmingly in favor that there is a God that exists, who is who he says he is, as per the God of the Bible. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so I literally I don't know, that's why I find it crazy when so-called logical people, like, this is why I think, this is why I know that we're a broken world, because like the fact that I'm even saying that to me this is logic, the fact that people have abandoned logic, which is what I learned from all the kids I've taught, is that the reason people struggle with maths and science is because we've abandoned logic as a society. We've abandoned logic and we think in other ways, which could be emotions, could be other things. If it's L. Ron Hubbard, he's going to tell you it's your reactive mind, right? And that's why we don't think logically, because so many things are so simple and so logical. I was thinking about this like literally today when I was teaching, right? And I was thinking, because this is the same day, by the way, guys, as the victory with my student, right? So when we were going through her lesson today, we're going through her exam paper and we're going through how she did, right? Literally, other than 2 topics we've never done before, I didn't teach her anything. I told her, think logically. Think logically. Who knows and have I ever defined what logic is to tell her that? No. It's the same thing that happens with all the kids, by the way, all of them. I haven't told her what thinking logically means. As soon as I say think logically, do this. And it's like thinking logically, and this is across the board, I've noticed as humans now, we are actually deterred away from thinking logically and thinking that we're thinking logically when we're thinking illogically. I know that sounds crazy, right, guys? But actually think about it, because there's certain things where it's kind of simple that, of course, this would be this because that would be that, in the same way that I always say, if 4x equals 12, x equals 3, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's this exact number. There's not a question about it because it's logical. And that's what I'm saying. So when people say that things like, those subjects are difficult, I'm like, thinking about logical things is always going to be difficult when you've been taught to think so illogically. And the funny thing is that I'm here thinking logically, and logic, which is considered like what science and maths is based on, is what is pointing me to the Lord. That's one of those things I think is fascinating, because, and even when God speaks to me, guys, it's actually quite interesting. I feel like this about me and God. when I ask God questions, he doesn't answer like a lot of he tells me other things in other ways. Like creatively, he might tell me in dreams and visions and, stuff about other people and other things. When he wants to like really talk to me personally, it always comes through some kind of science, logic, something. And I'm like, oh, like, God, I get it now. Like, and this is interesting. And then I'm like deep into studying. And I realized, obviously, in the process, how incredible that he is, like how amazing he is, how he is truly the greatest scientist of all time. He's truly the greatest artist of all time, the greatest everything, of all things, the Most High, of course, right? And I'm just enjoying it, you know what I'm saying? And like, this is literally my dynamic with the Lord, because I'm looking at it logically. It's pointing to him, and it's pointing to, at least it's pointing to somebody that has the characteristics that he claims to have in the Bible. And I don't know if people can like connect those things together. And sometimes I wonder why they don't, but then I remember we live in a society that is so, emotional now, and we all have these issues with the Lord. We all have these things. We now think illogically as our default position. So when logic is in front of us, it's hard to hear. That's why the truth is hard to hear. The Bible even says they shall be haters of the truth. Why would we hate the truth? When if you ask an average person, is it good or bad to have the truth? They'd rather have the truth. So why do we as a society hate the truth? Do you guys see what I'm saying? Because we are in an illogical state. As a world, we're in an illogical state that isn't thinking logically. I honestly think I'm like a logic expert at this point. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, I honestly believe, like, I really don't mean to toot my own horn, but like sometimes I just think like, how are we not? Because to me, when people don't understand my belief and my love for the Lord, I'm literally looking at them like the same way I'm looking at my students with the like, how is it not clear that 4x equals 12? So x equals 3. Like, I keep using this example because I hope it's simple enough algebra for the peeps, right? How am I not? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I'm like, how are you like? On what level is anything? This is why I didn't give my opinion, by the way, guys, in the actual thing, because obviously now I'm going off off the ledge, explaining my love for the Lord. But like, on what level, like, can you outdo God of the Bible? Like, that's my genuine question, like, to the rest of the world, to science, to every single industry, whether it's science, whether it's religion, whether it's science and religion again, whether it's the entertainment industry. I don't care what industry. On what level can you prove that you're better than God of the Bible? And they can't. They simply can't. And even if, I'm not saying that because they can't means he can't be beat, I'm just saying maybe we should invest in the person who's currently at the running of the situation. That's all I'm saying. I'm just throwing out ideas, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to help the people of tomorrow to think a little bit more logically. Like, we might as well bet on the winner. Like, if we were gambling, like, you know what I'm saying? If you were gambling, I know you don't gamble, okay? Gambling isn't even against what the Lord wants us to do. But if you had the money to waste, who would you want to gamble? You'd want to gamble on the person that seems to check out the most, that seems the most likely to win, even if we don't necessarily believe that they will overall. And we have some things we need to work out along the way, and that's called salvation. That's literally what it's called. And I just think that, to me, literally looking at science, how do you not know? How do you not see that it is God? That there are so many little things, like, about science, things like our solar system and the chances of our solar system being aligned the way that it is virtually impossible mathematically. According to their estimations, to all of the stuff we're all accepting as science right now, there are so many things in science that literally cannot be explained, because the fact is they're virtually impossible. So the only reason why we're saying they're possible is only because they were virtually impossible. So how have so many virtually impossible things come together? Even having a baby, even creating a child is virtually impossible, like, statistically. This is why the governments and things are putting you guys away from maths and science, because I realized this during COVID. That these people, what they're doing is they're taking advantage of the fact that people don't know better. because they're not mathematicians and scientists. They don't have the data in front of them to make a judgment. That's why I can read L. Ron Hubbard's book and quickly I'm like, where's your data? Because we all do data. I had to put so much data for my own research as a little third year chemistry research student, right? Whatever. And so, where's your data? But the average person is going to just believe certain things. We know as scientists that there's certain things in certain ways. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's this taking advantage of getting you to think logically and using it against you thing is basically what's happening. So you think, oh, because somebody did well, it's because they're so smart. It's like, no, there's a whole bunch of different factors. There's a whole bunch of different things. But what we need you to do is think it logically, because then you will logically obey to our system. And that's how the system of the world works. Do you see what I'm saying? It's actually the easiest, simplest equation of all time. It's the simplest, easiest equation of all time, because it's like God basically saying, I told you this was going to happen. I gave you the choice. Take your choice. Either way, you're going to learn some stuff. Either you're going to learn some stuff that is true about me that you're not going to attribute to me and end up and perish wherever, or you're going to realize it's me who's who I am, and we're going to go out swinging, go out fighting, because we're the most powerful of all and the most logical choice that you could have. And that's the thing I just don't get. Like, I honestly, guys, genuinely mean this, by the way. I don't want this to come across in any type of way where it seems like I'm just I'm judging people, because I truly am not. That's why I don't give away my the deepness of my feelings a lot of the time about the Lord, because I don't want people to feel like because they don't feel the same that there's something that's a problem or something. Because me and God have been on a very long journey together. Like, we've been on such a super long journey. And even still, my journey with the Lord, if anything, has taught me that everybody is where they need to be. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not for you to feel better or worse for where you are. That's why I comfortably sit where I feel like I am in the body of Christ at the moment, which is just like, I'm here for this level and this entryway perhaps into whatever, but I'm not claiming to be, any further. I'm on a journey myself, I'm saying? There's still so much I have to learn as well. And I'm learning every day. And that's what makes my life an adventure, I'm not gonna lie, because every day is like, it's like waking up in the school of the Lord every day, and like waking up in the office of the Lord every day. It's just insane. And that's what I actually would love for everybody, because I feel like that type of enjoyment, and again, all those things that we consider as enjoyment, if you look back in the science, are all things that are godly. It's always the godliest things that are the like highest vibrational, the we should do this because this is good or this is morally right. It's always been like that. That's the thing. So it's like, why are we pretending? Why are we that like? And so let's deal with whatever the issue is that we have with God. And that's how I feel. I feel like if you are truly believing you're logical and you're not acknowledging the God of the Bible, then what is it that you need to figure out with God? Like, it's between you guys. And that's the thing. To me, from where I'm sitting, it's so obvious that it's between not God and the person and the question. It's between the person and God. It's between the two of you, and God wants to answer your questions. Do you know how many scientific questions I asked the Lord? Because I want to have my research lab one day, so I can just be this is why I need to do a lot of things in this life, because I want to be able to do my own research as well, so that when the Lord tells me something, I can back it up with scientific research. Like, this is what I'm trying to tell the Lord. I'm like, Lord, listen, give me a research lab one day, and you know what I'm saying? Because I genuinely believe it's like that. Like, I look at science the same way I look at the Bible. Like, the same way I'm looking into the Bible to learn about God, I look at science and I'm trying to learn about God as well. It's the same thing. And so hearing both of those things at the same time is just fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. And I'm always putting them up against each other. Like, I'm never like, oh, because I believe the Bible, science is this, science is, but I think about it logically. I don't take a side, and I just think with my own individual human logic. Literally, that is what I do when I think about these things. I think with my individual human logic, despite everything else. I realize that this is not a skill that other people have, because I was talking to somebody about this in reference to gaming, and I was explaining that I can very well split between my head and my heart completely. Like, I can be completely head related in the moment and actually be completely heart in the other. Like, I can choose how to do it, and when I do it, like, I actually behave in that manner. So like, that's why when I play games, so I'm good at playing games, I don't get in my feelings. I play the gaming is the only place I've ever played with my full head ever, because now I can justify it, you know what I'm saying? Because obviously I don't want to be heartless, but because I will think with just my head. Yeah, that's why I'm good at gaming. It's the logic. And the gaming logic that causes for me to win in games is the same logic that takes me to the back to the Lord. Do you guys see how it just keeps going back around and coming back to God? And that's why I think whenever you look at science and everything, like, you have to think for a second, how long have these people actually spent on these things, and how far ahead actually are we? It was only back in the year 2000 that we even had our first drawing, or was it like diagram, of what DNA is, deoxyribonucleic acid, our DNA, which now we have our mRNA stuff that's not even 30 years later, whatever, just saying, and that's further on from DNA, right? We have all this stuff that was not that long ago. So then the next logical question I have to ask is, let's assume that let's set aside with science for a second. Yeah, like let's just look at science. Is science moving fast enough that as a human race, at the end, we're going to win? And that's the question that I don't think people actually ask themselves. Like, people are busy questioning the Lord, and I get it. Okay, people, I get it. It's okay. No one is judging you. We've all been there. We all have questions of the Lord. But I'm also like, and let's side with actual science. Like, if you look at the logic of science, if you look at the trajectory of the world, the literal law of entropy, that the universe is taking itself from a state more from order to disorder, it's going closer to disorder. That means that even though we know that as a scientific fact, it's still happening. Do you guys understand what I'm saying here? Like, so illogically, following just science and just doing that is illogical, because it's still going to take us down the road to destruction according to science itself. That's how I'm looking at it, right? And if you're going across all the different areas of science and a lot of the issues that they face, that's the problem that they face. That's the exact problem that they face, right? And so, every single thing to me, when you put Bible and science, the Bible and science, the Bible and science, you can talk about what the creative industry is, the same thing. David, like, I'm not even going to start talking about the Bible characters and what they could do when it related to creative things. But the Bible talks about people doing creative things. The Bible, funny story, actually, for those of you who didn't know, in the Old Testament, and I thought this was amazing, and I thought, God, this is why I love you. You see what I mean? So anyway, in the Old Testament, it was like, God, when the Israelites, when they were in the earlier stages and they were going about their things, and God had given them some instructions, even the praises, the singers and the musicians were paid. The singers and everybody who was actually participating in the service was paid, by the way. This is the things that you should actually read the Bible for yourself for, to discover, because then you realize that it was never God's intention for money to just be coming from certain types of things. And also, God actually valued everybody's role monetarily. He was the best payer of all time. Like, God was the one. God, I love God's employment rules. I've just started a new job, right? I've just started a new job. It's taken me like how many weeks now for us to start, and then this, and then that. We need this, we need that. You know what God says in the Bible? He says, at the end of the day, you give to that person their full wages. That's what we do here. We give to that person their full wages. Like, God is the best employer. He pays everybody. Everybody gets what they deserve according to the Lord for the work that they've put in. That's what I love about God, right? So, you know what I'm saying? And so, again, his employment is better than the freaking world's employment, where I'm going through things, all the houses, and people are trying to, do all these different things on planet Earth. And God is like, that's not even what I stand for. Like, I stand for the people. God said, I stand for the people. And so again, everything points back to the Lord. Everything points back to God. Everything points back to God being exactly who he says he is, which is the God that is written in the Bible. This is what I'm saying. Like, it isn't, to me, it is I don't know what the word is to say that, like, we wouldn't second guess it. It's like a fact. It's a fact. I mean, it's not me forgetting the word fact. It's a fact. it is a full-blown fact, a factual piece of information based on the evidence, because that's what we do in this world, right? If you're going to court, everything's based on evidence. If you want to tell somebody your opinion, what do they want to see? Evidence. Everything's based on evidence. And the evidence that has been laid out before me for the entirety of my life points to the fact that God, as a 100% God of the Bible, as who he says he is factual. So what do you expect me to say and what do you expect me to do on planet Earth? You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I don't know. To me, it's just something that I think seems really obvious. I thought it was so obvious. I think it's still obvious. I think even if you're not into science like I am, even if you're not into creativity, whatever, I think that if you just thought logically, you would realize what I'm saying is true. There's nothing, like, just based on evidence, let's assume it could change. Like I said, we don't have to say that that's the truth forever. However, what are our other options? Because all the other options seem to lead to destruction anyways. So that's my other thing. I'm like, well, why am I not just put all my bets on the Lord then? I'd rather put everything into the Lord than put anything into this world. Like, that's the point. Like, I'd rather put everything into the Lord and nothing into this world, because the world is already telling me I'm going into destruction in every turn. So why am I entertaining that? That's why I love the competition that I went to, the one where I got the trophy. It's called Go Hard. It's called Go Hard or Go Home. Go hard or go home, and that's literally me. That's literally me. I'm going hard or I'm going home. Anyways, guys, yeah, I just wanted to share that right now, because I just was thinking about the science element, and I was just thinking, like, how is it possible people don't realize that God obviously is the answer to the equation to solve the problem we're facing? Like, I just don't understand it. I genuinely don't understand. But I understand in the sense of I've been there and I've been in the world, and also I'm a scientist, so I'm never going to sit there and immediately assume that I am perfectly right, because I could always be wrong, and a good scientist is always prepared to be wrong. It's called humility. It just happens to also be one of the things that you do when you're part of the kingdom of heaven, and it also happens to work out in your favor when you do so. So you guys get what I'm saying there on a serious note. That, like, yeah, as a scientist, I have to also be open-minded about the fact that, other things could be true and I could be wrong, and I always am. Don't get it twisted. That's why I truly read through these things, like the Scientology book and the Quran and all this other stuff. I read through it as I would read through the Bible. I don't read the Bible in any different way. I read the Bible as if, like, does this make logical sense? That's literally all I do. And there's nothing different. So anyway, I've been waffling on forever, and it was one of those days where I just had, like, something really kind of deep and random to say in the middle of already uploading like a billion videos at the moment. But it's winning season. That's all I can say. If life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.